Hello, I'm Jason. I recently turned 17 years old, and I have already learned what the bitterness of betrayal means. But it was not only the fact that I was betrayed, I had also betrayed somebody who was dear to me, and, that turned out to be very bitter too. Well, I betrayed my girlfriend, and she betrayed me. I just did not have time to tell her how sorry I was, although I doubt that it would have changed anything. I was born and raised in a small town. Not depressing, no, just a small one. But there were always a lot of houses for sale, and one of them was right next to ours. It stood empty for as long as I could remember. But last summer it was suddenly sold. Of course, I rushed over there to say hello to our new neighbors, to offer them some help with moving in and all that. Well, if you've ever been to a small town in the middle of the summer, then you know that we have a lot of spare time during this part of the year. This was how I met Megan, the neighbor's daughter. She was my age, and she was, how do I put this, a big girl? I mean, tall and, solid. Maybe I have odd taste, but from the moment I saw her, I liked her very much. Soon after, we began to go out together, and then we became a couple. I liked everything about Megan. She was cheerful and open, very kind and gentle despite her, size. But one thing was terrible. Her makeup. She put on a lot of very heavy and just tacky makeup on her face. This made her look much older than her age. I thought about how to bring it up to her for a long time. And then this happened. We were walking around the city, got hungry, and went to a cafe. And the waitresses thought that we were a mother and son. But it turned much worse when they realized that we were not a mother and son, but sweethearts, because they could not believe that we were the same age. It seemed that Megan didn't notice their understanding but sarcastic glances while I sat there as red as a tomato from embarrassment. Even though I was hungry as hell, I could not even touch the meal. I was just so embarrassed. Finally, I grabbed Megan's hand and ran out of the cafe, pulling her with me. On the way home, I asked her as gently as I could why she was wearing so much makeup on her face. And she answered, smiling shyly, that she wanted to be my eye candy. Wow, dudes. I was just so surprised and flattered that I decided to just take it easy. But it didn't really work out. When the fall came, classes at school began, and Megan, of course, went there too. My big Megan with her face painted like a clown. Do you understand? Everyone was laughing at her. Everyone was laughing at us together. Everyone was laughing at me, at the boyfriend of the painty Amazonian woman. What made matters even worse was that Megan's style and clothing fully matched her makeup. She dressed very colorful and flashy and just tasteless. Probably during hot summer days when we didn't wear too much clothing, she just couldn't show off her designer talent in all its glory. I was always an ordinary, inconspicuous guy. Nobody had ever pointed a finger at me. And everything that was happening now was just not easy for me, but I held on. Up until one day. It began with my parents, who half-jokingly started saying to me that I had a very unusual girlfriend. Well, you know how parents can do this. Make you lose your temper with their hints and ridicule and then wonder what they said wrong. And so, right when I was ready to explode, Megan called me. She was crying and asking me to save her. She was sitting in the bathroom at the gas station and was afraid to go out because several truckers were waiting for her outside. They had invited her to have a good time with them, and when they saw no enthusiasm on her part, they went seriously crazy on her. I rushed to this damn gas station. I don't know, guys. I felt so humiliated when I tried to explain to these burly men that Megan was only 16 years old, that she was my girlfriend, and that she only went to this gas station to buy some snacks on her way home. I had to get Megan to wash her face to prove it. Afterward, they let us go and even mumbled some kind of an apology. Megan and I went home. Unfortunately, she started talking, and even worse, she started with, "I don't understand." And at that moment, I lost my grip. I yelled at her. I called her names. I repeated everything that she seemed to not hear when other people were talking about her. Finally, I said that either she had to change or I no longer wanted her to be my girlfriend. And I left, leaving her crying bitterly. I didn't tell my parents about any of this, of course, and they couldn't even imagine how sad everything was. So instead of serious adult advice on what I could do to save the situation, I got just another joke from them. They started talking about Megan again when our local television channel announced a new project, a makeover reality show. You know, where they make all kinds of ridiculous people undergo extreme makeovers, improve their appearance, and then endlessly discuss the outcome. Boring. And my parents said that in their humble opinion, my Wonder Girlfriend would be an ideal candidate and she should go to the casting. "These guys from TV would kill to have this diamond in the rough, your dear Megan," they said. I silently threw a plate of half-eaten dinner into the sink and went to my room. But that next day, when I was going to school next to Megan, I suddenly thought that it just could not get any worse. She looked ready to do anything to save our relationship, and, well, I continued to play angry dad and simply could not start talking to her normally as if nothing had happened. So I muttered something like, "You should go to the casting of this new show. Who knows? What if they take you and do something with all of this?" Don't say anything to me, dudes. I was a fool. And also a cruel fool. But you know what? She really did go there, even though everything didn't turn out anywhere near how I had imagined. She returned from the casting very excited and joyful. They liked her, and they wanted to work with her. Megan said that some important producers from the big city came to do the show, and the pilot episode of the show was going to be shot in the big city too. So she even had to interrupt her studies for a couple of weeks while she was filming. I chuckled while listening to her, but I was not at ease. However, it would be foolish to try to dissuade her. In short, Megan left to take part in the show. Everything happened very fast. Megan did not want to tell anyone at school about her casting or where she went. I didn't tell anyone either. I didn't want to be exposed to a new wave of ridicule. But when Megan disappeared, they talked about this for a couple of days and then just completely forgot about her. I started talking normally with all my old pals, just like in the old days. Honestly, I felt great relief after all the mocking and laughter behind my back for the last few months. And when one of my friends hinted to me that his sister would like to go out with me, I agreed without hesitation, as if I didn't have a girlfriend at all. So I called this girl, we met, and then went to the movies. Everything was pretty sweet. She was pretty, a normal height, and wore very nice makeup. I can't even say that I was bored. No, on the contrary, I almost developed a crush on her. We even kissed once. But on the fourth date, this girl told me that she had changed her mind and that now she thinks that it won't work out between us. I asked why, and get this. She very calmly explained to me that she had shown some of my photos to her friends, and they seemed to think that I didn't look very cool and that I had a funny face. Naturally, I spent the rest of the evening studying my face in the mirror, trying to understand what was so funny about it. And then suddenly I realized that Megan was supposed to come back tomorrow. And at that moment I realized how much I had missed her. And I also felt really bad about how nasty I was with her, and how stupid it was on my part that I didn't even try to simply talk to her about what bothered me. I decided that I would definitely apologize to her and that everybody who laughed at her could, from now on, go straight to hell. Well, and that together with her we'll come up with something about her appearance. But you've already guessed that I was too late, right? When Megan returned, well, it turned out that this extreme makeover worked. She looked just amazing. And, you know, they not only washed her face and dressed her in a different way, she somehow totally changed. Now, even without her war paint, she seemed more mature. And she no longer looked at me with the same enthusiastic adoration. Megan calmly told me that the producers canceled the show and that the shooting was interrupted in the middle. But she was in no hurry to return home because she was offered a job on another television project. It took some time to agree on the details, but finally they came to the following decision. She would finish this school year, and after that, she would leave to work on television. I asked her where I was in these wonderful plans. Megan took a short, silent pause, and then said that she was very grateful to me for sending her to that casting. Because when I did, she almost believed that she was a ridiculous and clumsy freak, which even her own boyfriend was ashamed of. And she also said that I wouldn't have to be ashamed anymore, because we were no longer a couple. If you're missing a bit of fun at the end of this story, then here it goes. When this updated Megan returned to school, nobody laughed at her anymore. Instead, they laughed at me. The same people who had just said, "Why on earth are you going out with that clown?" now said that Megan was super cool, and she just had to get rid of me to look good. And, of course, everyone considers me a loser, including my parents.